San Francisco schools are out of control and have been out of control all during this pandemic. It doesn't seem like they're trying to reopen their schools, just rename many of their schools. Two parents decided to go and listen to what the school board was doing, and they didn't like what they saw. And we have them both on the phone, Siva and Looijen. They both are the co-founders of Recall San Francisco School Board. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
You bet. So, Autumn, let's start with you. Why did you do this? Why did you get involved? What was the first thing that you saw that you were like, we got to stop just sitting on our hands?
We moved here in December from other school districts, and I think for me it was the contrast between the way the school board behaved in my kids' school district and the way the school board here behaves. The way it treats parents and the way it communicates with parents is totally different, and it really bugs me when the people in charge don't take care of and listen to the people who are their constituents.
So, Raj, they humiliate people who question anything they're doing, don't they?
Yeah, it's been really kind of stunning to see them treat parents, push parents away, literally. I mean, I worked on school site councils, I volunteered in schools, and usually schools are like desperate for parents to help out. And, in San Francisco, parents have been really, really eager to roll up our sleeves and help out in every shape possible. We are happy to kind of, move into the schools, clean them up, do up the windows, etc. We know that there is a lot of change that's required for the pandemic, for safety, and we are happy to get involved. But they've been pushing us away. They've treated parents who volunteered. For example, there was a gay parent who volunteered to be on the Parent Advisory Council, which is 50% empty. And they spent 2 hours just criticizing him in public without even giving him a chance to speak. It was just stunning.
They also, and this one drives me nuts because I hear this from all kinds of quote unquote experts, that the mental health issues are not a problem. I know I'm dealing with mental health issues with my kids who have not been in school up until recently. Yeah. And you can't do that to children. You can't really do that to people. We are social by nature. And in San Francisco, they completely deny this, right?
I think it's, my oldest son is a freshman in high school, and his school experience is just very different. He stares into a blank screen. All his classmates have their cameras turned off. Right. And so I've seen him actually borderline depressed. He does his entire school from his bed, and it's just, for a parent, it's just shattering to see that. And he just seems to have lost entirely his desire to learn. And he's a good student. I mean, he used to play football. He was very active and extroverted. So, it's just like a complete change in him. And we're seeing, for example, one of the commissioners in the school board just as recently as February was quoted in, San Francisco Chronicle saying, the school closures don't cause mental health issues. They don't cause learning loss. And it's just stunning to see again that there's no recognition. It's one thing to say that, hey, we have a pandemic. We have to account for the safety and we have to get this right to get kids back. We recognize that there are real challenges that both parents and students and teachers are facing, and we want to do the right thing for everyone. It's one thing to say that, and all of us would have totally supported the school board if that was the kind of attitude we saw. But it's been the exact opposite. They seem to be completely blind to and unwilling to recognize the real challenges that students and parents are facing in the school district.
So, Autumn, what is the why? I mean, there's 0 public schools in San Francisco that were approved for reopening as of February 26th. 0.
Yeah. I believe as of today, they have got 6 out of 108.
So what was the motivation? Why were they, I mean, you charged that they never had any intention at all to open schools this year. Why?
I think honestly, I think it just looks like such a big problem. They throw up their hands and they're like, let's just pretend it doesn't exist. I don't know why else you would do that when it's your responsibility to take care of so many children and get them back to school so they can learn. I don't know why else you would not have the school sites ready by January at the very least, when the schools were originally slated to reopen.
So you guys went to a school board meeting, you listened to it, and then you started I think a Facebook page, if I'm not mistaken. And there are 400 or 500 families now and parents that are involved in this recall. And what has happened so far? What changes have you seen just by standing up and doing the basic moves?
So we have our Facebook group is actually our group for organizing our volunteers, and we have over 700 people in there. We have this army of volunteers who help us whenever we want to learn more about an issue or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And Siva, do you want to talk about the movement you've seen?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. What was that question? Did you ask me a question?
No. I was seeing if Siva wanted to speak to what's going on since our recall effort started, and since the school board has also been sued, right, kind of at the same time.
Yes.
We have seen a little bit of movement. They are talking about reopening now. They are saying that reopening is their first priority, and they're kind of shelving the other issues for now.
And those other issues are like the renaming of schools?
Yes.
Okay.
And so we've seen, I think on April 12th, a few kids are slated to go back in a few schools. So it's not all the grades. It's like, I think at 12 schools, there's a couple grades that are going back. So that's a little bit of progress.
So
but
I just read a story about a couple in Los Angeles, or a group of parents now, that were meeting with Barry Weiss, formerly of the New York Times, and they were talking about, you can't use our names, you can't put us, on the record, because we will lose. Our kids will suffer from this. There will be a campaign against us. Did that ever concern you or cross your mind?
Well, one of the things we saw very early on when we were exploring the recall, which was about, early in Feb, after we kind of realized how deep the issues were with the board, is that we saw a lot of parents supportive, a lot of people in the city supportive, non-parents too, right? But very few people were actually keen to put their names on a recall because they were afraid. And that's understandable. I'm afraid. I have 2 kids in the school district, and I kind of worry about how they'll get treated if this is not successful, right?
Isn't that?
So,
I mean, that should.
Even if it's successful, you shouldn't be afraid. I mean, in democracy, you shouldn't be afraid of holding elected leaders accountable.
Right. I mean, I that should tell you everything you need to know on why you need to stand up. If you're afraid now at this shift towards this kind of rule, if you will, you're going to be terrified in 10 years. You can't let this sit. You have to stand up. Or do you think people are becoming more willing to, or?
We've seen a lot of support for the recall. So Autumn kind of talked about some of that. We've seen over 8,000 people sign up. We've had 30 people put their names on a petition that we just filed with the city, and that notice has been sent to each of the 3 board members who are eligible for recall right now. Who are kind of our focus at this point. Mm-hmm. And so there is a growing, and as people see that others are also interested, there's hundreds in the Facebook group, there is growing talk across the city. We're seeing people like feeling more comfortable, talking about it to their friends and to their neighbors, etc. So we had a lot of enthusiasm from people saying, hey, if we have about 7,000 people sign up, but if every one of those 7,000 just got 10 signatures, which is essentially our ask, we will hit the 70,000 we need to, get the recall on the ballot.
Well, I am so glad to see you guys do this and to lead this and to start to lead the way. Courage is contagious, and that's why I wanted to have you on. We may not agree on all the issues, but people have to.
Fine.
Yeah,
that's democracy.
Exactly right. And people have to stand up for one another and their freedom of speech. Right. And stop this madness of this local authoritarian style ruling. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
You bet. If you want to go to their website, it's recall sfschoolboard.org. And you can also follow them on Twitter at recall SFBOE.